Welcome back everybody, let's have a look at Matic then, shall we, today? And obviously before we get into the details of Matic, we are going to have to look at Bitcoin, just to give you an idea of what I think is going to happen, what's going on with it, and what that means for Matic, because you can't trade any alts without having to understand or predict what's likely to go on with Bitcoin. So there's a lot of people calling for a dump on Bitcoin. I don't really understand why they're calling for a dump. You can have small pullbacks, but there's nothing here to signify an actual dump. There could be a dump if we broke down beneath the center of the Bollinger Band, but so far all of these little pullbacks, which some of them obviously are not little, they're quite big, they've all been bought straight back up. We started to look a little bit more bearish as we were coming down to test this 3 times in a row. 3 days in a row we dumped down into the center of the Bollinger Band, but every single time bought straight back up from it. This blue box territory is the resistance, and at some points it could even be classed as support, but generally speaking I'd call it resistance rather than support. But the interesting thing is the trajectory of the centre of this Bollinger Band by tomorrow is going to be inside this resistance zone, and if we continue to treat it the way it's been treated these last 3 times here, then I would say that actually this area is, you might as well just call that bottom bit now resistance, support I mean. But if that breaks down, then yes, it starts to look a little bit more bearish at that point. But realistically, we're above all major moving averages. The moving averages are perfectly spread. You know, they're not diverging like you'd want to see them, especially at the topper end here. But they're still in a perfect spread. This is exactly how you want to see them. So I would say that my take on this is that we are actually looking bullish. The Bollinger Bands are pinching closer together, so yeah, it's getting very boring in the short term. But what this generally means is that volatility is waiting to break out. The volume sort of tailing off a little bit, but it's still really high. So I think we're more likely to pump out of this and break out than break down. And I would say that mainly based on the fact that we're still at the upper end of the Bollinger Band, and the rules generally of a Bollinger Band is if you were coming down and testing the center of it, you're more likely to stay within the center of it. The statistics in your favor. If you are riding the center and being supported on the center, you're likely to stay in the upper ends of it. So it's going to be a boring zone here, but I think we're more likely to break out than break down. The prices you need to take into consideration, if we start closing or do close on a daily below 11,500, then I might start to think we're getting bearish. But generally at the moment it's not looking that bad, and actually sideways is good for alts, and it's been it's been proven. And what I think now is that because I think there's going to be a breakout, I think there's a lot of other people who are also going to think there's going to be a breakout, and so while it's going sideways, I think there's going to be more money going into the top cap alts actually at the moment. And I wouldn't call Matic a top cap, but it's not a small cap really anymore. It's quite large, but it's not a top cap, but it might move with those. It might be brought in at the bottom end of that pump, but it's got its own thing going on. It actually likes to do its own thing, so you just got to bear that in mind. But yeah, top caps I think are going to start to move. So we're talking Ethereum, XRP. You can see BAT's already made moves today. All those sort of big ones, all the big boys will start moving. I think if we stay in this zone, that's how it's going to go. Right, let's move on to it then, shall we? So this is what we're waiting for. We're looking at Matic. So Matic has done more than I thought it was going to do. I knew it was going to pump. I knew it was going to have a decent run. I thought it was going to get rejected at 27 cent, and it kind of did in a way. And then it's surpassed that level. So we put a blue box in here this time because the 27 cent is a resistance, but also 29 cent is a resistance too. It's not as important because it's not been tested and rejected from as many times, because realistically Matic's not got to that level that many times. So let's just have a look at what this blue box actually represents here, and it's an important one, definitely, probably the most important one. So 27 cent here, we saw rejections here and here. We also saw rejections here and all over here. So definitely been used more times and rejected more times. But also if you look at this, the candle body close here and here, two days in a row on that parabolic move up to the top was 29 cent. We also had 3 days here where we spent inside that, below that 29 cent, being rejected 3 times. Also the top of this wick was 29 cent. So it's reasonably important. So 29 cent at the moment was smashed right through. We made all the way up to 32.41. I'm calling it 29 cent. I should restart this video, but it's not 29 cent, it's 2.9 cent. My apologies, my apologies. So 2.9 cent. So anyway, 2.9 cent has now appearing to be, at this moment in time, we dumped beneath it, that's okay. The wick doesn't matter as much as the candle body, and the candle body is just sitting on it right now. What I would say is, if this breaks down, then it's 27 cent as 2.7 cent. As you see, this candlestick here already came down yesterday, and this is where we spent our entire candle body, and 2.7 cent. It's been a long day. I can't even, you know what I mean. 2.7 cent there. It will wick down, and we could touch that 2.7 cent. Now, the thing to be not worried about, but be aware of, is that Matic has this dumping strategy that could always come back. You don't generally see things quite so dramatic as that, but it has happened, and it could happen again, and that's the scary thing. What I would look at would be for a clear, perhaps maybe double top, which is kind of what happened on this occasion here, and this is why I got out. I noticed that we were just not making any significant move up, and actually, if you think about it, I mean, on my Telegram we traded this, and most of us, I think, as long as they were logged in, I think, and saw what I was doing, I got out at the top with me, because I wasn't seeing any effort to break above this level. So we got out, and actually we had plenty of time. If you think about it, we had 4 days basically to get out of that position. So, you know, even though there could be a dump take place at any minute, I think that the bulls are always going to be on trying to ride Matic as high as possible, and I don't think it'll dump short notice. You know, we did get a good, we got plenty of we had plenty of time to make that decision to get out. The best thing is to not be greedy in a coin like this, but for the moment I don't think it's going to do something quite like that, not yet anyway. It could easily do that again, but I don't think it's going to do that yet. The thing is, like I say, we're balancing on the 2.9 cent, and we could come back down to the 2.7 cent. Any further down than that would be around about the 10 simple, the 10 EMA, which is only a little bit further down, about 2.6 cent. But it actually looks still bullish to me. I mean, money flow index is very high, RSI is very high. It wouldn't surprise me if we came back down and it would still be bullish. Matic likes to gain momentum faster than anything generally. Well, maybe not recently, but it does have a lot of momentum to it. So these don't often get respected. And if we go back in time, you know, the moves that we've made right now don't really touch the sides. They are very high, but we've been higher than this in the past, but not often. You know, we were higher than that around these levels. Interestingly enough, where, you know, the RSI is exactly the same height at the same price as it was last time over here, and then it only needed to go a little higher before it was too much. I wouldn't say that was a signal from the RSI. I mean, it's just a, you know, point of reference. So now what we're looking for is for this to remain as support. If you're still in this position, I wouldn't want to give you any kind of advice over this because it's such a risky asset. But if I were still in, well, I mean, I am still in this position, and I'm going to continue to stay in this position because personally, I think the reward outperforms the risk. There is risk involved in this, but it doesn't look like it's ready to dump. If it did dump, it's okay because I bought it around this level, so I'm okay with that. And is it going to come down below here? Well, there's a lot of support below us before we get to there, so I should be okay. I wouldn't ever dare margin trade this stuff, to be honest. There's absolutely no need to margin trade Matic, but it is available. But it's you're going to have balls of steel to do something like that. Let's have a look at the sats then, because the sats are also at an interesting level. Around 250 sats is kind of a nice round number if you think about it. And people like round numbers, especially in cryptocurrency. You know, there's something about a round number that just seems to hold up very well in crypto. So there's a nice round number, 250 sats, certainly is a resistance in itself. So it's a bit messy, it's not exact, and obviously with sats it's always going to be different because Bitcoin's been different prices at different levels of Matic, and Matic has actually pumped as Bitcoin is in a downtrend, so that's how it's done it in the past. So it's a very difficult one to look at with sats. But when it comes to 250 sats, breaking above there would probably continue to be bullish. Now, we don't have a great deal other to go by. Bitcoin was a lot cheaper back here, but if we were to break 250 sats, I would be aiming for 300 just to be safe, because 300 or just lower than that actually are probably about 290 to be safe, because we've got these levels around 275 and then 290 and then all the way up to 325. But Sats isn't really for me. I'm not really trading. I wouldn't really trade Matic on Sats, but the 250 level is going to be a number that will be picked up because it's that nice round figure. Breaking above there, we should have decent continuation. So we'll say the first target around about 273, 275. Again, kind of round number 275, and then moving up into and above 300. But again, let's look at the other indicators on here. So money flow index is very high. Let's actually have a look at this. Historically, have we ever? It's very high. Is that actually? It does look like it's the highest it's ever been, and before it just took a tick down. So that actually, to me, when you see something reach that level, that does begin to get a little scary. So that, in my mind, actually does offer a bit more weight to it coming back down further. So just going on that. And money flow index, again, none of these indicators are indicators to be used on their own, but usually the money flow index, when it gets to that absolute top height, is something that should open your eyes a little bit. But the RSI on this occasion is nowhere near the all-time high. But the money flow index is, so that would worry me a little bit. So maybe there is a bit more of an argument to the downtrend, well, not the downtrend, but a larger pullback. But that aside, everything looks good. We've now confirmed. We had a death cross here, but it was completely invalidated. We've got a golden cross, but we'll see if that really means anything. And usually things don't often pump exactly as there's the best way to explain it. I'm getting my words all mixed up. You can see I'm not completely on form today, but a golden cross doesn't mean it's going to pump as a result of the golden cross. A golden cross is telling us that there's a change in trend to the bullish. That's all it's saying, really. It doesn't mean it's going to pump immediately. It just means that, yes, something's taking place. These moving averages, as you can see, are a real mess. They're all together here. It looks like when you open up a plug socket that, it's just all over the place. And so just looking at that, it looks like it wants to change its trend, but it could be invalidated just as easily as this was invalidated just recently. So I'm not going to trade on the back of that until they've diverged away from each other and found themselves a nice little a rainbow spread of moving averages that are all in a nice place. And they're not in a nice place at all. They're all in the same place, and that's no way to trade them. So Sats is a little bit bearish in my mind. Not bearish, but asking for a pullback. Tether is telling us we are holding and hoping to hold this support, and then we'll see where we go from there. So I can't really offer you a great deal. What I am going to do personally is hold on to my position anyway, but if we certainly broke down beneath 2.6 and closed beneath 2.6, I'd just take my profit and wait for it to come further down, probably back down to the blue box territory. This one here being between 2.3 and 2.3, 2.4 cent. Very, very surprised if it came down further than that at this point in this run. I think it's likely to have more continuation, but that might not be tomorrow. It might have a pullback and a bounce after, first. 2.7 cent, very likely, to be honest, very likely, just given what I've seen on the Sats. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there. Apologies for getting the prices wrong. We're not perfect. It is the end of a weekend, and for me, weekends are often harder than the weekdays. Anyway, take it easy. Thanks for watching.